Hello, Philippe. I am Hadley Henriette, and so nice to have you on Goldilocks Wellness today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I want to take a stab at saying your whole name, but well, maybe you say it for me. So,
Yes, I can do that. Philipp von Holtzendorff-Fehling.
okay, you founded this wonderful company called Leela Tech, and you're making all kinds of products that work with frequencies. And I wanted to kind of maybe first talk about the products, and then we can kind of get into how they work and the science behind them. Because I think for most people, they're going to go to your website and they're going to kind of see this, little capsule with the beads that maybe you wear around your neck. They're going to see this little square box thing that is not
The
cheap.
block.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then some interesting cards. So I was thinking you might just sort of walk us through them and tell me what each one does and
Mhm.
what a wearer, a user, how to use it, and what you might expect to see from it.
Yep. So I start with what we actually developed. So the real breakthrough that we developed was that we are able to harness and concentrate 100% natural, pure quantum energy in such a fashion never done before. And we do that without any brute force. So no electrical brute force or no magnetic brute force to not destabilize the field, because that could add stress actually to the human body. And with that capability now, people and plants and pets can actually tap into that. So you have quantum energy everywhere. Maybe I need to also explain a little bit what that is. It's the
Sure.
same energy actually that is in everything. And we have it, for example, in each of our cells, there's a quantum field. That's how the cells communicate at all times. So it's the very same energy. It's nothing foreign, nothing artificial whatsoever. However, you don't have high concentrations of that, and especially where you have high EMF,
Mhm.
5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, etc. You have less because that actually sucks quantum energy out of objects. Interestingly, so you don't have high concentrations. So with our technology now, we can do the absolute opposite. We can super concentrate that, and with that, we can even say these are high consciousness field. We can get into that. It's quite fascinating. So that's the quantum technology we developed. So we have quantum energy generators, if you will. That's the blocks, for the ones that this is now a big one here, actually. I don't know if anyone can see this here.
That's really big. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
this is 15 by 15 by 15 inches. That's our so-called grand block. So you can put whole salad bowls in there. We'll get into what they all do,
are
but I
most
want
of
to,
them more kind of on this like side, or is that
yeah,
that's
the regular size, regular
yeah.
is 8 by 8 by 8 inches.
Okay.
And then we have a smaller one that's a travel block. That's, I don't even know. It's like maybe 2 by 2 by 2 inches or 2.5, 3 inches, something like that. Relatively small, so you can even put it in a purse, not in a very small one, but regularly, and then in a car and all of that. So, but I want to just wrap up the overview because not only do we do that, we also create frequencies for specific use cases. And and so we have all kinds of different frequency cards, for example, with frequencies for, let's say, inner peace. So if someone is in stress, panic attacks, fear, then that frequency, for example, would help a lot. Then we have one for like weight management. We have one for abundance, prosperity flow, things like that, because we can develop those. We work with a network of absolutely top-notch healers together. I'm talking like the best in the world in their field. And some of those are purely etheric frequencies that we work with. Others are molecular frequencies. That means we derive those from a physical substance, whether that's a healing plant,
Okay.
could also be a supplement, organic vitamin C, something like that. Could be anything that's literally a physical substance. Okay, so we can copy that and then leverage that, and then we can do combinations. We can work also with sound frequencies and so on, and then we combine it, and we call that frequency medicine.
Wow. And is that sort of a proprietary technology that you invented to infuse these things? Are you the only person that can do it?
Yes, so it's indeed a proprietary technology. We developed it. We work with a very similar understanding that Tesla had. So
Mhm.
Tesla invented some of these things, even though I must say he also worked a whole lot on electricity. We do not work at all with or on electricity.
Right.
That's not like our field. We haven't looked into that. So we really work on the energetics part. And there are some different methods on how you can get frequencies also into, for example, water. Homeopathy is probably the most well-known method. You do
Right.
that by you also taking a physical substance and then you dilute it in water and you keep diluting it until in the end of the day, no one could say that there's a physical substance in there anymore because you couldn't find it on a physical level, but you do have the information in there. So that's something well known. And then, there's some other technologies that could press frequencies into something, usually not in metals though. So with our technology we can even get it into metals, and then what's absolutely unique is that we really work with this pure natural quantum field, because not only do we get the frequency into something, we can use the quantum energy as a booster. Basically it's like a carrier wave, so, and it makes a field of, almost any size that we can create. Not really any size, but I mean, it could be easily 2 kilometers or like 1 or 2 miles big. And then we could have the frequency vibrate in this whole field. That is something that is absolutely possible.
And is the idea of the different sizes is that you take an object and put it inside of that box and then it kind of infuses whatever you put in there with that frequency, or is that how it works?
Yeah, so to go through really the five main things you can do with any block basically that we offer, and the size just, with the size, it just matters what can you put in. Obviously, you can put a whole salad bowl in the big one, you cannot put it in the small one. So that's some of the main differences. But so what can you do? You just put it in your home and office, farm, wherever, and do nothing with it, and it harmonizes all frequencies in that space. And it has a quite large radius. The infinity block has a radius of over a kilometer. And the frequencies that it's harmonizing, it's literally any harmful frequencies for a physiological organism,
Oh, wow.
meaning a plant, a pet, you, me, and pretty much anyone, and it includes EMFs, which is important. That's the frequency spectrum that we know quite a bit about. We've
Right,
heard
we
about
do.
that.
We do.
Yep,
And they're not so great for us.
exactly. Yeah, and you can measure negative effects very, very quickly. Like in your blood, for example, you can see within 5 minutes that the blood starts to clot, white blood cells start to get paralyzed. When you were not in any Wi-Fi situation, you're Wi-Fi free, then you turn on Wi-Fi. That is what happens with the blood. You can see midterm effects, long-term effects. There's lots of studies out there, way over 1,000 studies that are independent and peer-reviewed that show the negative effects. However, it is possible now with our technology to basically neutralize 100% of those visible negative effects that you can measure in the short or midterm.
And you've done, I mean, there's a lot of studies I know that you have ongoing, because I think a lot of people will say, okay, show me the science. They want to see that. And I'm certainly one of them as well. I want to believe in all these things, but then I also, yeah, I want to know that if I'm going to go through all those things, that it's real. And I guess there's 48 different placebo-controlled studies. That's pretty legit.
Yep. So that's quite a lot, and we don't run the studies ever. We maybe do initial testing and things like that in order to dig further and then say, okay, there's some more research needed. We give our products away to labs, institutes, and doctors' offices across the world, and then they run the studies. So, our technology has been studied by the Besa Institute in Austria, by the famous Emoto Institute in Japan. They actually became a distributor of our products in Japan 20 months ago because they saw, that our products were able to structure and optimize water faster than any other method they had tested before. Then, there's a university lab in the US that has done wound healing studies on human cells, ATP production studies. There was a clinical trial with 42 autistic kids in India that was done. There's
maybe isolate and just sort of be on their computer, be on their tablet, be on their phone. And so they're just then exposing themselves to more radiation, more EMFs, and maybe not getting the help that they need. So do you think that just having one of those blocks nearby would sort of somewhat negate some of the negative effects of being on those devices for them?
Yeah, actually 100% of that, actually 100%. So that's been shown in so many different studies that were randomized, sham controlled, double blind, single blind. By the way, also by Dr. Rubik, who's probably the one in this field in the US, looking at the actual human blood and what EMF does.
Right,
Our technology doesn't just help with EMF. That's literally just one, like
right,
that's maybe 5 or 10% of what it does. You can do so much more with it, but absolutely has the effect already if it's in the room. That's what I said. You just put it somewhere and you don't even touch it. You don't even work with it, and it does that on its own. You have to worry about it. So you can have greater effects if you
right,
put your hands inside or your
sure,
feet. Then you have even greater effects, and then you can play with it because then you get into the other, four that we haven't talked about yet. You could
right.
put your water in there. You can charge your groceries. You can basically increase the vibration of any metal you put in, your jewelry. Literally, I mean, people, I mean, they come to our booth when we're at these conferences and then they put their cell phone in, for example, and then their cell phone is charged. And after that, you could not measure any negative effect of their cell phone when they use it on their body for at least 3, 4 months. If you have a ring or a necklace out of gold or silver or whatever, you put it in and it vibrates higher. It'll be more beautiful afterwards. So those are the things you could do with it as well, plus more, and we'll get into that after you ask your
Right. And that
question.
sort of ties back into something that we've heard a lot about. Well, I think we're going to more and more, but people talk about high vibrational people, high vibrational foods. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that you'd want to take a Snickers bar and put it in there and say that then that's a high vibrational food, but I don't know.
It indeed becomes a high vibrational food. You still don't have any nutrients in there really because they don't put any in to begin with.
Right.
But what happens basically with a raspberry, if you take a raspberry, or a carrot, whatever, nowadays there's very little nutrition actually in these fruits and vegetables compared to 20, 30, 40 years
Sure.
ago,
Yeah.
right? And so the primal information of a raspberry or carrot, whatever you put in, actually gets activated again so that you have that primal information with actual nutrients. Um, that happens, on an energetic level. It is quite fascinating, frankly.
Really cool. It's really cool. So there's that. And what else? What are the other? You said there's a bunch more.
Yeah, well, so the other things you can do with it or the other products?
What are the other, are there any other things you can do with that box that we haven't talked about? Definitely let us know that because I think that's sort of the granddaddy of your products. Am I right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So those are really where you can do a whole lot with. We mentioned the water and all of that. With groceries, it's not only that you can put them in, there seems to be initial evidence that the allergy response to certain substances that people have can be reduced by 65 to 95%. That happened through a lot of anecdotal evidence that came our way, and actually to a point where we were able to replicate that on stage with someone who has a strong crab meat allergy. And there's a YouTube video out there actually on our channel that shows that they put crab meat in his arm and he got a super reaction there, got all red and blisters came up. Then the same crab meat they put in our block live on stage, and then they put it after like 6 minutes in his other arm, no allergic reaction. And that's the same, like when he indeed consumes it, he can only consume it without any reaction when he charges it in the block. So that, and a lot of people
That
mention that,
story
like
is
with,
amazing, by the way.
yeah, I know, I
I
know.
heard that.
Don't try this at home though yet, because for that one, we can't make a claim yet, and we don't know enough about it because
Right.
and it's a sensitive topic. So, but it's
You don't want
very,
anyone to have anaphylaxis, but
we are working on research. There's a clinic in Germany that actually ran a pilot study with certain substances like gluten and all of that, also sugar actually. But you cannot be allergic to sugar, but you have a stress response. And in all cases, there was a 65 to 95% reduction in allergy response or stress response, which is quite fascinating. But it was a small pilot study. So, we want to be very
to
mindful and
do that,
careful
you
around
need the
that.
block. The necklace isn't gonna be enough to kind of do that.
No, well, it will do something for sure, and it has great benefits. We can maybe now jump over that because the last part I don't really want to talk about too much. That's actual applied quantum entanglement, but that, we would need another show for that just to speak about what you can do with that. And
That'll be
I
part
would
two.
have to explain a lot. Yeah, because people are like, okay, so what does that mean now? Um, but the capsule, that's really the all-rounder product we have. We call it the heal capsule, and it contains specific frequencies that activate your inner healer, your self-healing powers. And it contains, besides those frequencies, almost 80 of the most important vitamins and minerals in frequency form. So when you wear the capsule, you basically have like a 2 meter field, sort of like a bubble around you, if you will. And these frequencies are vibrating in there, so your body can take basically what it needs. And that was also shown to improve your heart rate variability, to help mitigate the impacts of EMF on your body. But again, it's just for the wearer, and then the interesting thing is that it contains these specific frequencies. Then we have a water bottle that has a stainless steel double wall inside, which is charged with our technology, and it contains the very same frequencies that also the capsule contains. So put your water inside, and then the water gets not only structured, but it gets informed with these frequencies that are in there. And then if you drink it, you take in great structured water plus these nutrients in frequency form, which is great. And I'm happy to answer a question if you want to ask. Okay, so how would that work to take in a vitamin C through frequency?
Yeah, that's kind of mind blowing. And I was thinking, wow, how that could be helpful for people that maybe have, eating disorders or any reason they're not eating enough. Or, I mean, can this be measurably, can you measurably get these vitamins that you're deficient in from that?
Yeah, so we cannot comment on specific health conditions, of course, because of regulation, but I can tell you how this works with the heal capsule and the water bottle, what we've been seeing. So the very minimum that seems to happen is that people, when they take physical nutrients, they have a much greater effect from them because the cells learn this primal information again, and it's as if the cells are prepared to really take in this information in a different way, and they need less supplements, for example, over time. So they pretty much everyone that has a heal capsule and uses a water bottle, they use less supplements over time. Most of them still use them, but less. And then you have a small subset of people, and it's maybe 5%, maybe it's 10%. I think is rather at the 5% level. They don't take any supplementation anymore at all, and they maintain optimal vitamin and mineral levels regardless. So we don't really know why that is. I also wouldn't assume that you're part of the 5%. So please
Right.
keep taking your supplements,
Sure.
but you will intuitively feel at some point that you may need less.
But the idea that it could sort of work synergistically maybe to help what you do take work better, I think is a really cool idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it does. Yeah.
So, and that's something you can wear around your neck. That's the kind of cute gold necklace. And I mean, I've heard a lot of really amazing testimonials surrounding that in terms of just, I guess it, I mean, there's so many different things it does, and since I don't have firsthand experience with it yet, I maybe won't comment, but I have had a few, and maybe some people watching this will have had some other types of experiences with frequencies, because some of the things that we're mentioning, for example, I did once have, or maybe twice, I had sessions with energy workers. Is there any parallel between what you're doing and, say, an energy work session?
Yes, there is. Now, we must say though that there's a lot of like quote unquote energy workers out there, and the vast majority can't really do much. And that includes most people that, work with Reiki and all of that. And I don't want to discredit that at all. I think it's an amazing practice and I think it's super beneficial and it's great, right? But on a scale from 0 to 10 in terms of what's possible energetically with real energetic work, it's pretty much on the low end. Doesn't mean you can't do something with it because even on a 1 and 2, you can move stuff, you can get information, you help the body maybe to get into balance in a certain spot. But we're really talking about the absolute most capable of folks here that are running around that can do these things that we're working with, and everyone, that really works with energy works with a pure quantum field. And then they work with frequencies and with some information in essence, right? And then there's just a lot of in between and how you can help people get into a frequency state, like a shaman would beat the drum in order to get you into a specific frequency and so on. So they work with that. And the vision was really that we create products that can support you 24/7 with a quantum field. And then you can add information and frequencies that you may need at a given time.
Right. And I think that's actually, you just mentioned something that is so interesting, and I definitely want to explore more in some future shows, which is sort of things that people have been doing a long time, whether it's in yoga or, yeah, shamans, or just things that have been around for centuries, that people have been doing, that now we have a little bit more of a scientific explanation as to what are they doing, and to show that they really are doing something rather than just being like, it's not just woo and kind of being like, oh, do you feel something that's maybe not really there? It's actually like yoga has a real effect on the nervous system, and they can prove that. And, they can talk about the science behind, the vagus nerve tone and just oming.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like a very much more advanced version of some of those things, would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely way advanced in terms of, what it can do um on a regular level, that it can just do that even. That is absolutely advanced because that doesn't exist out there in that form. But of course, if you talk about one of these top healers, they can do a much better job in a 1 hour session than what a block could do is, in regards to a specific topic, because that's super, super concentrated. I mean, there's people out there that can, you know, remove a pinched nerve, right? Or I don't know, heal a broken arm in a few days. I mean, those things are possible, and that's something you can't do with a block. But at the same time, you don't have the time nor the money to work with a super top-notch healer, if you can even find one,
Sure.
um, 24/7, right? So what this does, and to explain this maybe to people, so the block has a super high consciousness field, and it invites you to vibrate higher, and it does that automatically. All of your cells in this field suddenly are starting to vibrate higher and vibrate higher and vibrate higher. And what does that mean? So on the so-called Hawkins scale, the low ends of consciousness are anger, guilt, shame, fear. Those are all low vibrational states. If we're vibrating in these states, that's how our world looks like, okay? It is filled with fear, it is filled with shame and guilt and whatever, and that is what we're inviting into our lives. As we start to vibrate higher, there's the 500 level, the unconditional love, then there's 540 that is joy. If we start to vibrate more and more in these levels, at least on average, that's more and more what we're inviting into our lives. And we open up to our true inner essence, which is energy and frequencies. And that is what the blocks do and help with. The physical positive effects on wound healing accelerates by 85 to 100% with these blocks, for example, proven in double blind studies. It increases your ATP production, it optimizes your blood, it optimizes your heart rate variability. All of these things happen only because it helps your energetic system.
And HRV is super measurable. You can, be wearing or testing that daily and see that the needle move on that.
Yes.
But you touched on something that I think is really interesting in terms of, the low vibration emotions. And I would say sort of the stereotype is that people that have those low vibrational emotions a lot become low vibrational people, and you can kind of and somewhat affect people around them with their negativity or whatever. I don't think anyone really knew what that was, but I think now we actually have an explanation for what it is. It's the vibrations that they're sending out at maybe different frequencies, I guess. So in essence, could wearing a necklace on taking a low vibrational person that maybe has a lot of anger and angst and would that make them a higher vibrational person? Do people give feedback of saying that they feel lighter or that they feel changed in that emotional way?
Yeah, so the blogs 100% do that. They definitely, I mean, everyone, it's free will out there, right? And there are
Right.
some people you would be surprised that don't want to be healed or they want to stay in the state where they're at, and they can block things off. The blocks work anyway in regards to these physical benefits and all of that, but people can shut off. It's just going to be very, very hard for them to ignore that invitation to get into the higher vibration, right? Because that's really our true essence also. It's not to vibrate low. So it helps with that. The heal capsules also help with that a little bit, but again, it's free will. And so it does have these positive effects. Now, if it's interesting, there was a long-term study done by the Base Institute with the Heal capsule, and they actually showed if you work with intention on specific things that you want to overcome, maybe specific fears, maybe you're always angry, and running around just unhappy, you're always angry, then there's always something behind it that you can solve these emotional patterns and blockages that you have that make you react that way. You can transform those relatively quickly.
So for someone that maybe understands they have this issue and wants to, that wants to change, someone that's open to changing, but maybe, so that does take a certain amount of self-awareness, but which maybe inherently low vibrational people maybe don't have. But I think there's some people that are aware of it and would probably welcome that. But
Yeah, and
before,
then they can use it that way, but you don't have to, work on something specifically in order to feel the benefits and more energy and all of that. For that, you just wear it or put it in your pocket and that's it. But you can do more with it if you want to.
yes, absolutely. So I wanted to, before we run out of time, you're going to be in Miami soon, correct? At the Biohacker Expo, which is at the end, it's at the end of February, February 23rd through the 25th, 2024. So you're going to be speaking there?
Yes, I'm super excited about that conference. Yeah, really excited actually, and not only because it's in Miami, but also I think the one putting it together, I think has a great vision, and we're happy to be there and support that. And I'll be speaking, so I'll be walking through the science, of the quantum technology and frequency medicine in more detail, and we'll show some slides actually, and that's what we'll be doing. We have a booth there as well, so people can actually come and they can, charge some of their jewelry and phones and all of that for free, of course, and just ask us questions.
Yeah, I can't wait to to see you speak and try it for myself. And I should encourage people to check out your website, which is leelaq.com. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been like amazing. It's been amazing.
Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm personally looking forward to learning more about this, and it's very exciting, and I think it's a very exciting future for this. So you're on the
Thank you.
forefront.
I'm looking forward to meeting you in person then there.
Absolutely. Thank you.